Welcome to a story filled with betrayal, deceit, and explosive revelations. In this gripping tale, four lives unravel as secrets surface. Infidelity wreaks havoc, and manipulation drives tensions to a boiling point. Anna uncovers her partner Ryan's shocking affair with the cunning Claire, while Claire's own partner Michael faces betrayal he never saw coming. And in the shadows, Evelyn pulls the strings, exploiting their pain to pit them against each other. Brace yourself for a roller coaster of lies, heartbreak, and power plays that will leave you questioning just how far people will go. Let's dive in. The year was 2017, and the small suburban town of Willow Creek was the kind of place where everyone knew each other's business, or at least thought they did. Quiet streets lined with maple trees, pristine lawns dotted with garden gnomes, and a local cafe that served as the unofficial town hall. It was the quintessential postcard-perfect neighborhood. But as they say, appearances can be deceiving. Our story begins at the heart of this picturesque community, where two families lived next door to each other on Sycamore Lane. On one side, there was Anna and Michael West. Anna was a school teacher with a warmth that seemed to radiate in her smile. She was the kind of woman who baked cookies for the neighborhood kids and organized charity drives on weekends. Michael, her husband, was a financial consultant, a reserved, methodical man who seemed happiest when everything was under control. Together, they were the perfect couple, or so it seemed. Next door lived Claire and Ryan Lawson. Claire was a real estate agent with a magnetic charm, the sort of person who could sell ice to an Eskimo. She had a knack for making everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room. Ryan, on the other hand, was a contractor who could fix just about anything, rugged and affable. He was the kind of guy who would help you move a couch without a second thought. They were well-liked in the neighborhood, always hosting barbecues and holiday parties that brought the community together. But behind the closed doors of these two houses, cracks were beginning to form, cracks that no amount of maple trees or garden gnomes could conceal. It all started one crisp October morning. Anna stood in her kitchen, staring out the window as she stirred her coffee. The autumn leaves painted the neighborhood in vibrant hues of orange and red, but Anna's thoughts were far from serene. Something had been bothering her for weeks now, a nagging feeling she couldn't quite shake. Michael had been distant lately, staying late at the office more often than usual and brushing off her questions with vague excuses. Probably just a busy season, she muttered to herself, trying to dismiss the creeping doubts. But deep down, she knew it was more than that. Meanwhile, next door, Claire was getting ready for her morning showing. She stood in front of her bedroom mirror, applying a touch of mascara. Ryan walked in, carrying a box of tools. "The sink's fixed," he said, flashing her a proud grin. Claire barely acknowledged him, too focused on perfecting her appearance. "Great," she replied curtly, her tone making it clear she wasn't in the mood for conversation. Ryan sighed and left the room, the sound of his boots echoing down the hallway. Lately, it felt like they were speaking different languages, their once easy rapport replaced by strained silences. The first real twist came at a neighborhood block party later that month. It was the kind of event that Willow Creek prided itself on. Grills fired up, kids running around with sticky fingers, and adults mingling with plastic cups of lemonade or beer. In hand, Anna was helping set up the dessert table when she noticed Claire and Michael talking by the fence. Their heads were close, their laughter a little too loud. Anna's chest tightened. Probably nothing, she told herself again. But the image stayed with her, a seed of suspicion taking root. As the party went on, Anna tried to shake it off, joining a group of moms discussing the upcoming school play. But her eyes kept drifting back to Claire and Michael. They seemed comfortable, too comfortable. Claire's hand brushed against Michael's arm, and he didn't pull away. Ryan, oblivious to his wife's subtle flirtations, was busy manning the grill and entertaining the kids with his bad jokes. "Why did the skeleton go to the party?" he called out. "Because he had no body to dance with." The kids groaned, but their giggles betrayed their amusement. That night, as Anna lay in bed, she couldn't stop replaying the scene in her mind. She glanced over at Michael, who was scrolling through his phone with a look of intense focus. "Who are you texting this late?" she asked, trying to sound casual. Just a colleague, he replied without looking up. Anna nodded, but her doubts only deepened. The next morning, she confided in her best friend Sarah over coffee. Sarah was the kind of friend who didn't sugarcoat things. Look, she said, leaning forward. If you think something's going on, you need to trust your gut, but don't jump to conclusions without proof. Proof. The word echoed in Anna's mind. Around the same time, Ryan was starting to notice changes in Claire, too. She was more distant, more secretive. Her phone, once casually left on the kitchen counter, was now glued to her hand or tucked away. One evening, as they were cleaning up after dinner, Ryan asked, "Everything okay? You've been distracted lately." Claire hesitated for a fraction of a second before plastering on a smile. Of course, just busy with work. Ryan wanted to believe her, but like Anna, he couldn't ignore the feeling that something was off. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of subtle betrayals and growing tension. Anna started paying closer attention to Michael's behavior, his late-night texts, his sudden interest in new cologne, the way he seemed to light up whenever Claire was around. She even noticed Claire wearing a new perfume, a floral scent that lingered in the air whenever she walked by. One afternoon, Anna decided to test the waters. She casually mentioned Claire while Michael was folding laundry. "She's been spending a lot of time at work, huh?" Michael didn't miss a beat. "Yeah, I guess so. Why?" "Just curious," Anna said, watching his reaction closely. But Michael's face remained unreadable, a mask of practiced indifference. Meanwhile, Ryan's suspicions were growing too. He started coming home early from job sites, hoping to catch Claire in one of her lies. One day, he found her in the backyard, laughing on the phone. When she saw him, she quickly ended the call. "Who was that?" Ryan asked, trying to keep his tone light. "Oh, just a client," Claire said, avoiding his gaze. Ryan nodded, but the seed of doubt had already sprouted. By the time Thanksgiving rolled around, the tension between the two households was palpable. Anna and Michael hosted dinner that year, inviting the Lawsons along with a few other neighbors. It was a picture-perfect evening on the surface: golden turkey, steaming bowls of mashed potatoes, and warm apple pie. But beneath the surface, the cracks were widening. Anna couldn't help but notice the way Claire and Michael avoided each other's gaze during dinner, as if trying too hard not to seem suspicious. Ryan, ever the cheerful host, kept the conversation flowing, but his eyes lingered on Claire a little too long whenever she laughed at someone else's joke. After dinner, as the guests mingled in the living room, Anna caught Claire and Michael in the kitchen. They weren't touching, but the way they spoke, low voices, too intimate, set off alarms in Anna's head. She quickly retreated, her heart pounding. That night, as the Wests cleaned up, Anna decided she couldn't stay silent anymore. "Michael," she said, her voice trembling, "is there something going on between you and Claire?" Michael froze, his hand hovering over a stack of plates. "What? No, of course not. Where is this coming from?" Anna crossed her arms. "I've seen the way you two look at each other. Don't lie to me." Michael's expression hardened. "Anna, you're being paranoid? Claire's just a friend?" But Anna wasn't convinced. The trust that had once been the foundation of their marriage was crumbling, and she didn't know how to stop it. The days that followed Anna's confrontation with Michael were tense, to say the least. Although Michael insisted there was nothing going on with Claire, his evasive answers only fueled Anna's doubts. He spent more time at the office than ever, leaving Anna alone to stew in her thoughts. And let's be honest, when someone tells you there's nothing to worry about, but their actions scream the opposite, that's when your gut instinct really kicks into overdrive. Anna wasn't one to sit idle. Determined to find answers, she decided to do some quiet investigating of her own. One morning, after Michael left for work, Anna logged into their shared phone account. She wasn't proud of it, but desperate times called for desperate measures. As she scrolled through the call logs, her heart sank. There were dozens of late-night calls to a number she didn't recognize, some lasting well over an hour. Meanwhile, over at the Lawson household, Ryan was having suspicions of his own. Claire had been even more distant lately, and her once vibrant energy seemed replaced by something calculated. One evening, after Claire went to bed early, Ryan took a page out of Anna's book. He grabbed her phone while it was charging and scrolled through her messages. Most of the texts were mundane, work-related and family group chats, until he found a string of conversations with someone saved as Mike W. Bingo. The messages weren't explicit, but they were personal, too personal. "Thanks for listening tonight," one message read. "You always know how to make me feel better." Another said, "Can't wait for our coffee tomorrow. Same time?" Ryan's jaw tightened as he put the phone back. His chest felt heavy, but more than that, he was angry. Angry at Claire for betraying him and angry at himself for not confronting her sooner. Later that week, the tension between the couples came to a boiling point during a neighborhood wine night. The Lawsons and Wests sat at the same table, surrounded by friends, but the unspoken drama between them created a palpable undercurrent. Anna noticed how Claire kept her distance from Michael, almost as if overcompensating. But it was Ryan's behavior that really caught Anna's attention. His usual charm was replaced by a brooding silence, and he seemed to be watching Claire like a hawk. At one point, Ryan excused himself to the patio, and Anna, unable to resist, followed him. "Everything okay?" she asked cautiously. Ryan hesitated before replying. "Do you ever feel like someone's not who you thought they were?" Anna froze. Was Ryan onto something too? She wanted to press further, but didn't want to reveal her own suspicions just yet. "I guess we all have moments like that," she replied carefully. Ryan nodded, but didn't elaborate, leaving Anna more uneasy than ever. The real turning point came a few days later. Anna had decided she couldn't let her fears fester any longer. Armed with the suspicious number from Michael's call logs, she dialed it while he was out. Her hands trembled as she waited for the line to connect. "Hello?" a female voice answered. Anna's breath hitched. It wasn't Claire. It was someone else. "Hi, I was trying to reach Michael West," Anna said, trying to keep her voice steady. "This is his assistant, Laura," the woman replied. "Is there something I can help you with?" Assistant Right Michael had mentioned hiring someone new at the office, but Anna had brushed it off at the time. Now, hearing Laura's voice, Anna wasn't so sure. She ended the call quickly, but her mind was racing. Was Michael's distance because of Claire, or someone else entirely? Across the street, Ryan was gearing up for his own confrontation. That evening, after dinner, he set his glass of wine down a little too hard on the table. "Claire, we need to talk." Claire looked up from her plate, her expression guarded. "What about?" Ryan leaned forward, his eyes locked on hers. "About Mike W." For a moment, Claire's face betrayed her, a flicker of panic crossing her features, but she quickly recovered, rolling her eyes. "Oh, come on, Ryan. He's just a friend." "A friend you're having coffee with every other day? A friend you're texting late at night?" Ryan's voice rose with every word. Claire's jaw tightened. "I don't need your permission to have friends, Ryan." "This isn't about permission," Ryan shot back. "It's about respect, and I don't feel respected when you're sneaking around with another man." Claire stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "I'm not sneaking around. You're just insecure because you've let this marriage go stale." The words hit Ryan like a slap. He opened his mouth to respond, but Claire stormed out before he could say another word. The next morning, Anna and Ryan bumped into each other outside while taking out the trash. Neither of them said much at first, but their shared tension was impossible to ignore. Finally, Anna broke the silence. "Ryan, can I ask you something?" He glanced at her, wary but curious. "Sure." "Do you think Claire and Michael are—" She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Ryan's expression darkened. "I don't know. But if they are, they'll regret it." The two of them stood there for a moment, the unspoken truth hanging heavily in the air. It was a moment of mutual understanding, a silent acknowledgement that neither of them was imagining things. That weekend, Anna decided to confront Claire directly. She invited her over under the pretense of borrowing a recipe book. As they sat in Anna's kitchen, sipping coffee, Anna steeled herself. "Claire," she began, "I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me." Claire raised an eyebrow. "Okay?" Is there something going on between you and Michael? For a split second, Claire looked caught off guard, but she quickly composed herself, leaning back in her chair. Of course not. Why would you even think that? Anna's gaze didn't waver. I've seen the way you two act around each other. It's not just me, Claire. Other people have noticed too. Claire sighed, feigning exasperation. Anna, you're imagining things. Michael is just a neighbor, that's it. But Anna wasn't convinced. The evasiveness in Claire's tone only deepened her suspicions. Meanwhile, Michael was dealing with his own confrontation, this time with Ryan. The two men ran into each other at the hardware store, and Ryan wasted no time cutting to the chase. Michael, we need to talk. Michael, who had been inspecting a set of wrenches, straightened up. What about? You know damn well what about, Ryan said, his voice low but menacing. If I find out you've been messing around with Claire, you and I are going to have a problem. Michael's face hardened. Ryan, you're out of line. Am I? Ryan stepped closer, his broad frame towering over Michael. Let me make this clear. Stay away from my wife. Michael didn't respond, but the tension between them was enough to make other customers glance nervously in their direction. By now, the cracks in both marriages were too big to ignore Anna, and Michael barely spoke at home. Their once easygoing dynamic replaced by icy silences and curt exchanges. Meanwhile, Ryan and Claire were locked in a cold war of their own, each retreating into their separate corners of the house. But if there was one thing about secrets, it's that they don't stay buried for long. One evening, as Anna was tidying up the living room, she found Michael's briefcase left open on the coffee table inside. She noticed a receipt for a fancy restaurant, the kind they hadn't been to in years. And the date. It was the same night Michael had claimed to be working late. Her hands trembled as she set the receipt back in the briefcase. She felt a mix of rage, heartbreak, and something else. A determination she hadn't felt in years. If you've been enjoying this juicy tale of betrayal and intrigue, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support keeps these stories coming, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you think so far. Whose side are you on? The tension in the West and Lawson households had reached a boiling point. What started as suspicion had spiraled into an all-out emotional minefield. No one was safe from the fallout, and it was only a matter of time before the truth would come crashing down like a tidal wave. Michael's late nights were becoming harder to explain. Anna, fueled by the restaurant receipt she'd discovered, decided to confront him directly. That evening, as Michael sat at the kitchen table scrolling on his phone, Anna placed the receipt in front of him. What's this? She asked, her voice calm but icy. Michael glanced at the slip of paper and immediately froze. He recovered quickly, though, plastering on his usual poker face. It's just a work dinner, nothing to get upset about. A work dinner? Anna raised an eyebrow. At a restaurant we used to go to for anniversaries? Michael hesitated, and for the first time, Anna noticed a flicker of panic in his eyes. It's not what you think, he said, but the words felt hollow, even to him. Anna leaned in, her gaze piercing. Then tell me, Michael, what exactly should I think? Before he could answer, Michael's phone buzzed on the table. Anna didn't wait for permission. She snatched it up and saw a message notification from someone saved as L. The text read, "Had a great time last night, can't wait to see you again, XO." Anna's blood ran cold. She threw the phone back onto the table and stood, her voice trembling with a mix of rage and heartbreak. How long, Michael? How long has this been going on? Michael didn't respond immediately, his silence speaking volumes. It's not what you think, he repeated weakly. Oh, spare me the lies, Anna snapped. I knew something was off, but I gave you the benefit of the doubt. And this is how you repay me? Michael's face hardened. You don't understand, things haven't been right between us for a long time. Anna let out a bitter laugh. And cheating is your solution, unbelievable. Across the street, Ryan had been biding his time, waiting for the perfect moment to confront Claire with the evidence he'd gathered. That moment came one evening when Claire returned home late, her excuse about working overtime sounding flimsier than ever. Ryan intercepted her at the door, his arms crossed. We need to talk. Claire sighed, clearly not in the mood. Can it wait? I'm exhausted. No, it can't, Ryan said firmly, stepping aside to reveal Claire's phone on the coffee table, unlocked and open to her messages with Michael. Care to explain these? Claire's face drained of color as she stepped closer, her eyes scanning the damning texts. Ryan, I can explain, she began, but her voice lacked conviction. Explain? Ryan's voice rose, his anger bubbling over. Explain how you've been sneaking around with Michael. How you've been lying to my face every single day? Claire's defenses crumbled. It's not what you think, she said, echoing Michael's earlier words. Oh, don't give me that, Ryan spat. Do you think I'm stupid I trusted you, Claire? I've been nothing but supportive, and this is how you repay me? Claire's shoulders slumped, and for the first time, she looked genuinely remorseful. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she said quietly. Ryan scoffed. So it was supposed to happen, unbelievable. The next day, Anna and Ryan crossed paths once again, this time at the local coffee shop. Both looked worse for wear. Anna with dark circles under her eyes, Ryan with a clenched jaw that hadn't relaxed in days. Rough night? Anna asked, her tone grim. You could say that, Ryan replied, taking a sip of his coffee. He hesitated before adding, I confronted Claire. It's true she and Michael have been sneaking around. Anna's heart sank, even though she'd already suspected as much. Hearing it confirmed was like ripping off a bandage. Michael didn't deny it either, she admitted. For a moment, the two of them sat in silence, processing the weight of their shared betrayal. Then Ryan leaned forward, his expression determined. We need to do something. Anna looked at him, confused. Like what? Like make them face the consequences, Ryan said. They've been lying to us, to everyone. They don't get to just walk away from this unscathed. Anna hesitated. A part of her wanted to walk away, to let Michael and Claire destroy themselves without her involvement. But another part, the part that was tired of being made a fool of, agreed with Ryan. Okay, she said finally. What do you have in mind? Ryan and Anna's plan hinged on one thing, exposing the affair in front of witnesses. To do this, they decided to host a dinner party, inviting both Claire and Michael along with a few mutual friends. It was risky, but it was the only way to get the truth out in the open. The night of the party, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Michael and Claire arrived separately, each feigning ignorance of the other's presence. Anna and Ryan played the perfect hosts, their polite smiles masking their true intentions. As the evening wore on, Anna and Ryan exchanged subtle nods. It was time. Anna clinked her glass to get everyone's attention. Thank you all for coming tonight. We have a little surprise. Michael and Claire exchanged nervous glances, sensing that something was off. Ryan stepped forward, holding up Claire's phone. Surprised we found something interesting. The room fell silent as Ryan began reading the incriminating texts aloud. Michael's face turned beet red, and Claire's eyes darted around the room, looking for an escape. Care to explain, Michael? Anna asked, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Michael stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. Claire, on the other hand, tried to play the victim. This is a private matter, she said, her voice trembling. Private? Ryan barked out a bitter laugh. You made it our business the moment you decided to betray us. The dinner party ended in chaos, with Michael and Claire storming out separately, their lies laid bare for all to see. If you thought the dinner party bombshell was the peak of this drama, buckle up, because things are about to get even messier. With secrets exposed and trust shattered, the fallout hits harder than anyone expected. Relationships are pushed to their breaking points, and the true cost of betrayal comes to light. The day after the dinner party disaster, Michael showed up at Anna's doorstep unannounced. He looked disheveled, his usually sharp appearance replaced with wrinkled clothes and tired eyes. Anna hesitated before opening the door, her heart hardened by the events of the previous night. What do you want, Michael? She asked, her tone sharp and unforgiving. Michael held up his hands in a gesture of surrender. Anna, please, can we talk? Anna crossed her arms, blocking the doorway. Talk about what about how you lied to me, or how you've been sneaking around with Claire? Michael flinched at her words but didn't back down. I know I messed up, I know I hurt you, but it wasn't… Don't you dare say it wasn't what I think, Anna snapped. You don't get to gaslight me anymore. Michael sighed, running a hand through his hair. I'm not trying to gaslight you. I'm trying to fix this. I made a mistake, Anna. I lost sight of what mattered. Anna's laugh was bitter. And what mattered to you, Michael? Was it me, our family, or was it the thrill of sneaking around? Michael stepped closer, his voice softening. It was you. It's always been you. I let things get out of control, but I want to make it right. Anna shook her head, tears stinging her eyes. You don't get to decide that. You don't get to walk back in here and act like you're the victim. For a moment, they stood in silence, the weight of their broken relationship hanging between them. Finally, Anna stepped back and closed the door, leaving Michael standing on the porch. Meanwhile, Claire was facing her own reckoning. Ryan had packed a bag and left their house, refusing to stay under the same roof as her, desperate to salvage what was left of their marriage. Claire called him, begging for a chance to explain. Ryan reluctantly agreed to meet her at a neutral location, a quiet park where they used to walk together during happier times. As they sat on a bench overlooking the lake, Claire reached for Ryan's hand, but he pulled away. Don't, he said coldly. You don't get to play the loving wife now. Claire's voice trembled as she spoke. I know I hurt you, Ryan. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but I never stopped loving you. Ryan let out a bitter laugh. You have a funny way of showing it. Claire's eyes filled with tears. It wasn't about you. It was about me. I felt invisible, like I wasn't enough. And Michael made you feel like enough? Ryan shot back. Do you realize how pathetic that sounds? Claire winced at his words, but didn't argue. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway. I want to fix this, Ryan. I want us to be okay. Ryan stood, his expression unreadable. I don't know if we can be, he said quietly before walking away, leaving Claire alone with her regrets. As the days passed, the cracks in Michael and Claire's lives only deepened. Michael threw himself into work, avoiding Anna's calls and emails about dividing their assets. He knew he had no right to avoid the inevitable, but the thought of losing his family was too much to bear. Claire, on the other hand, found herself increasingly isolated. Ryan had moved in with a friend, leaving her to face the silence of their empty house. She reached out to Michael, hoping for some sense of solace, but he ignored her calls. Without their secret connection, Claire felt adrift. It wasn't long before both Michael and Claire began to unravel. Michael started drinking heavily, his guilt and shame manifesting in destructive ways. Claire withdrew from her friends and family, unable to face their judgment. The once perfect facades they had maintained were now in ruins, and they had no one to blame but themselves. Amid the chaos, Anna and Ryan found an unlikely ally in each other. Their shared betrayal had forged a bond, and they leaned on each other for support as they navigated the aftermath. One evening, as they sat in Anna's living room, Ryan glanced at her and said, Do you ever wonder if we're wasting our energy on them? Anna looked up from her glass of wine, puzzled. What do you mean? I mean, Ryan continued, why are we letting them control our lives? They're the ones who messed up. Why should we be the ones to suffer? Anna considered his words and nodded slowly. You're right. They don't deserve our time or energy. We need to focus on moving forward. Ryan smiled for the first time in days. Exactly. Let's focus on what we can control. Over the next few weeks, Anna and Ryan worked together to rebuild their lives. Anna focused on her career, pouring her energy into a project that had been on the back burner for months. Ryan reconnected with old friends, finding solace in their support. Their alliance wasn't without its challenges. There were moments of awkwardness, moments when the weight of their shared pain threatened to overwhelm them. But through it all, they found strength in each other. As Michael and Claire spiraled deeper into their respective pits of despair, Anna and Ryan decided it was time to confront them one final time. They agreed to meet at a neutral location, a quiet cafe where they could talk without fear of interruption. When Michael and Claire arrived, they were met with cold, unflinching gazes from Anna and Ryan. The air was thick with tension as they sat down, each party unsure of how to begin. Anna broke the silence, her voice steady. We're not here to rehash what you've done. We're here to tell you what's going to happen next. Michael shifted uncomfortably in his seat while Claire stared at the table, unable to meet Anna's gaze. Ryan leaned forward, his tone firm. You've taken enough from us. This is where it ends. Over the next hour, Anna and Ryan laid out their terms. They would be moving forward with divorces, and they expected full transparency from Michael and Claire during the process. Any attempts at deception or manipulation would be met with legal action. Michael tried to protest, but Anna cut him off. You don't get to argue, Michael. You made your bed, now you have to lie in it. By the time the meeting ended, it was clear that Michael and Claire's reign of deceit was over. They had no choice but to accept the consequences of their actions. If you're loving this drama. Before we dive into the final chapter of this roller coaster story, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. What do you think of Anna and Ryan's approach? Would you have done the same? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. We're inching closer to the explosive climax of this tangled web of lies, betrayal, and heartbreak. The stakes are higher than ever, and everyone's next move could determine their future or seal their downfall. Buckle up, because this ride is about to get bumpy. Michael's downward spiral hit its peak one rainy evening when he found himself alone in his empty apartment, staring at the remnants of his once perfect life. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of rain tapping against the window. A half-empty bottle of whiskey sat on the coffee table, its amber liquid a stark reminder of how far he had fallen. He picked up his phone, scrolling through old photos of Anna and their daughter, Sophie. Each image felt like a dagger to his heart, a reminder of the family he had thrown away. His thumb hovered over Anna's contact for what felt like an eternity before he finally pressed call. The line rang twice before Anna answered, her tone cold. What do you want, Michael? Michael hesitated, the weight of his words catching in his throat. I just wanted to hear your voice. Anna sighed, her patience clearly wearing thin. Michael, this isn't healthy. You need to let go. I can't, he admitted, his voice cracking. Anna, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything I ruined us. I ruined everything. Anna's silence on the other end was deafening. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady but devoid of emotion. You're right. You did ruin everything, and I'm not sure I can ever forgive you. Before Michael could respond, the line went dead. He stared at his phone, the emptiness inside him threatening to consume him. For the first time, he realized that his actions had led him to this point, and there was no one to blame but himself. Meanwhile, Claire was desperately trying to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. Ryan's absence left a gaping hole in her world, one that no amount of apologies or explanations could fill. She spent her days oscillating between anger and regret, blaming everyone but herself for the mess she was in. One afternoon, she decided to confront Ryan directly. She showed up at his friend's house unannounced, her makeup smudged from tears, and her voice trembling with desperation. Ryan, please, she begged as he opened the door. Can we just talk? I can't keep doing this. Ryan leaned against the doorframe, his expression unreadable. What is there to talk about, Claire? You made your choices. I know I did, she said, her voice breaking. But I'm trying to fix things. I'm trying to make things right. Ryan shook his head, his disappointment evident. You don't get to fix things just because you feel guilty now. You broke us, Claire, and some things can't be put back together. Before she could respond, he closed the door, leaving her standing alone in the pouring rain. It was a moment of painful clarity for Claire. She had pushed too far, and now she was paying the price. While Michael and Claire grappled with their respective breakdowns, Anna and Ryan were quietly plotting their next move. Their shared determination to hold Michael and Claire accountable had transformed their pain into resolve, and they weren't about to let their exes walk away unscathed. One evening, as they sat in Anna's living room poring over legal documents, Ryan leaned back in his chair and said, We've got to be strategic about this. We can't just rely on the courts. Anna raised an eyebrow. What are you suggesting? Ryan smirked. I'm suggesting we take control of the narrative. If they want to play dirty, we can play smarter. Over the next few days, Anna and Ryan began compiling evidence of Michael and Claire's infidelity, text messages, photos, emails, everything they could find that painted a clear picture of their betrayal. They weren't looking for revenge, they were looking for justice. Things came to a head when Anna discovered that Michael had been spreading rumors about her at work, painting her as the unreasonable one in their divorce. Furious, Anna stormed into his office during lunch, her anger barely contained. Michael looked up from his desk, startled. "Anna, what are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" she snapped. "I'm here to tell you to stop lying about me." Michael's eyes narrowed. "I'm not lying." "Don't play dumb," Anna shot back. "I know you've been telling people that I'm the reason our marriage fell apart, that I pushed you away. Do you have any idea how pathetic that makes you look?" Michael stood, his frustration bubbling to the surface. "What do you want me to say, Anna? That I'm a terrible person, that I ruined everything? Fine, I'll say it, but don't act like you're innocent in all of this." Anna's jaw dropped. "Excuse me?" "You were never there, Anna," Michael continued, his voice rising. "You were always so focused on work, on Sophie, on everything but us. I felt invisible." Anna stared at him, incredulous. "So you decided the best way to fix that was to sleep with Claire? Grow up, Michael." Before he could respond, Anna turned on her heel and walked out, leaving him alone with his guilt. While Anna was confronting Michael, Ryan had his own score to settle with Claire. He knew she had been trying to manipulate their mutual friends into taking her side, and he wasn't about to let her rewrite history. He showed up at a mutual friends gathering, uninvited, determined to set the record straight. As he walked into the room, Claire froze, her smile faltering. "Ryan," she said, her voice tight, "what are you doing here?" "I'm here to tell the truth," he said, his gaze never leaving hers, "since you seem to be having trouble with that." Over the next few minutes, Ryan calmly but firmly explained the real reason for their separation. He didn't embellish or exaggerate. He simply laid out the facts, letting their friends draw their own conclusions. By the time he finished, the room was silent. Claire's carefully constructed facade had crumbled, and she could feel the weight of everyone's judgment. As the weeks went on, the tension between all four characters reached a boiling point. The lines between right and wrong blurred, and the consequences of their actions became impossible to ignore. Michael, haunted by his guilt, finally decided to seek therapy, hoping to understand why he had made the choices he did. Claire, on the other hand, continued to spiral, refusing to take accountability for her actions. Anna and Ryan, though still navigating their own pain, found solace in each other. Their unlikely friendship became a source of strength, helping them move forward even as their exes struggled to pick up the pieces. If you're hooked on this roller coaster of emotions, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support keeps these stories coming, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think deserves redemption? Let's discuss. The air was thick with tension as every decision, every glance, and every revelation brought Michael, Claire, Anna, and Ryan closer to a breaking point. The stakes had never been higher, and with emotions running wild, it was only a matter of time before the situation erupted. After their legal and emotional battles began gaining momentum, Anna and Ryan realized they couldn't rely solely on court proceedings to protect their futures. If Michael and Claire had taught them anything, it was that playing fair didn't always yield justice. One quiet evening, Anna and Ryan sat in her kitchen, poring over the final pieces of their plan. Their partnership, forged through mutual heartbreak, had turned into a source of strength neither had anticipated. "We have everything," Ryan said, pointing to a neatly organized folder on the table. "Text messages, financial documents, even character witnesses who can vouch for how they treated us. This isn't just about winning, it's about making sure they can't manipulate anyone else." Anna nodded, her fingers tracing the edge of the folder. "It still feels surreal sometimes," she admitted, "that it came to this, that they pushed us to fight this hard." Ryan gave her a reassuring smile. "They underestimated us, Anna, but that's their mistake, not ours." The plan was simple: present their evidence to the court while simultaneously leaking key details to the right people. By controlling the narrative, they hoped to disarm Michael and Claire's last-ditch attempts at damage control. Meanwhile, Michael was unraveling. Weeks of guilt and isolation had taken their toll, and he began to see the world with an unbearable clarity. Every choice he had made, every lie, every betrayal, had brought him to this point. One evening, he found himself standing outside Anna's house. The porch light was on, casting a warm glow on the front steps. For a moment, he hesitated, wondering if he had any right to be there. But before he could second-guess himself, Anna opened the door. "Michael," she said, her tone sharp but not unkind. "What are you doing here?" "I needed to see you," he said, his voice shaky. "I needed to apologize for everything." Anna crossed her arms, her expression unreadable. "You've apologized before. What's different now?" Michael took a deep breath, the weight of his emotions threatening to overwhelm him. "I see it now. I see what I did to you, to Sophie. I see how I let my own insecurities destroy everything we had, and I know I can't fix it. But I needed you to hear me say it." For a moment, Anna said nothing. Then she stepped aside, gesturing for him to come in. They sat in the living room, the silence between them heavy with unspoken words. "I don't hate you, Michael," Anna said finally. "But I can't forgive you either. Not yet, maybe not ever." Michael nodded, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I understand." While Michael was facing his demons, Claire was falling deeper into denial. Her attempts to control the narrative with their friends had backfired spectacularly, leaving her isolated and vulnerable. The one person she could still rely on was Michael, but even that connection felt tenuous. Late one night, Claire showed up unannounced at Michael's apartment. Her makeup was smudged, and her eyes were red from crying. "Michael, please," she said as he opened the door. "I need you." Michael frowned, his weariness evident. "Claire, I don't think—" "Don't do this," she interrupted, her voice trembling. "We've been through so much together. We can fix this. We can still have what we wanted." Michael shook his head, his voice steady. "No, Claire, we can't. We destroyed too much to ever go back." Claire's face crumpled, and for the first time, Michael saw the cracks in her carefully constructed facade. She wasn't the confident, manipulative woman he had fallen for anymore. She was just a person, desperate and broken, clinging to something that no longer existed. "I'm sorry, Claire," he said gently, "but I can't be what you need." The day of the court hearing arrived, and the atmosphere was electric. Anna and Ryan sat side by side, their confidence bolstered by the evidence they had gathered. Across the room, Michael and Claire sat apart, their expressions a mix of anger and apprehension. The judge entered the courtroom, and everyone rose. As the proceedings began, the tension in the room was palpable. Anna's lawyer presented their case with precision, laying out the details of Michael and Claire's infidelity, financial manipulation, and attempts to smear Anna and Ryan's reputations. When it was Michael's turn to speak, he surprised everyone by admitting his mistakes. "I won't deny what I did," he said, his voice steady but filled with regret. "But I hope the court can see that I'm trying to take responsibility for my actions." Claire, on the other hand, was defiant. She denied the allegations against her, claiming that Anna and Ryan were exaggerating the truth to gain sympathy. But as Anna's lawyer cross-examined her, it became clear that Claire's lies were unraveling. By the end of the hearing, the judge's decision was clear. Anna and Ryan's evidence was compelling, and the court ruled in their favor. The verdict was a bittersweet victory, a testament to their resilience, but also a reminder of the pain they had endured. With the court case behind them, Anna and Ryan began rebuilding their lives. They found strength in each other, their bond deepened by their shared experiences. While they both acknowledged that their relationship was built on unusual circumstances, they also recognized that it had become a source of healing. Michael, meanwhile, started attending therapy regularly, determined to understand his actions and learn from his mistakes. He remained distant from Anna and Sophie, knowing that rebuilding those relationships would take time, if it ever happened at all. As for Claire, she retreated into isolation. Her attempts to control the narrative had left her with nothing but a fractured reputation and a trail of burned bridges. She spent her days reflecting on her choices, wondering if she would ever find a way to redeem herself. One afternoon, Anna and Ryan found themselves at the park, watching Sophie play on the swings. The sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a warm glow over the scene. For the first time in months, they felt a sense of peace. As they sat together, Ryan turned to Anna and said, "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Anna smiled, her eyes sparkling with a mix of relief and gratitude. "We have, and I think we're finally ready to move forward." Their journey had been messy, painful, and complicated, but it had also been transformative. They had faced their demons, fought for their futures, and come out stronger on the other side. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you've been captivated by this emotional roller coaster. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the characters' journeys. Who do you think found redemption and who still has a long way to go? Let's talk about it. The calm before the storm was fleeting as the lives of Anna, Ryan, Michael, and Claire barreled toward a climactic moment that none of them could avoid. Every choice they had made, every secret they had kept, was about to come crashing down. Claire sat in her dimly lit apartment, scrolling through her phone with trembling hands. Every notification, every missed call felt like another thread unraveling from the fabric of her life. The walls, once adorned with pictures of happier times, now felt like they were closing in. She couldn't escape the judgment friends who once rallied around her now whispered behind her back. Her social media was a battlefield, filled with veiled comments and passive-aggressive posts. But Claire wasn't one to admit defeat, at least not yet. Her final gambit was to confront Anna directly. If she could twist the narrative one last time, she might salvage what was left of her life. That evening, she drove to Anna's house, her mind racing with arguments and accusations. But when Anna opened the door, Claire's carefully rehearsed speech faltered. "What do you want, Claire?" Anna asked, her tone guarded but calm. Claire took a shaky breath. "I came to talk, just talk." Anna hesitated, then stepped aside. They sat in the living room, the silence between them heavy with years of resentment and unspoken truths. "You think you've won?" Claire began, her voice trembling. "But this isn't over. You've painted me as the villain, but you're not innocent in all of this." Anna met her gaze, her expression unwavering. "You're right. None of us are innocent. But the difference is, I'm trying to move forward. You're still trying to tear people down." Claire's facade cracked, and for a moment, the vulnerability she had fought so hard to hide came to the surface. "I didn't mean for it to get this bad," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I just wanted to feel important." Anna softened, but only slightly. "You had a choice, Claire. We all did, and you made yours." Meanwhile, Michael found himself standing at the edge of a metaphorical cliff. The weight of his guilt, combined with the fallout from the court case, had pushed him to his limits. He had tried to make amends, but the damage he had caused felt insurmountable. One night, as he sat alone in his apartment, he picked up the phone and called Ryan. It was a call he had avoided making for months, but he knew it was time. "Ryan," Michael began, his voice unsteady, "I need to talk." Ryan's initial response was curt. "What could you possibly have to say to me?" "I need you to hear me out," Michael pleaded. "I know I don't deserve it, but I need to say this." After a long pause, Ryan relented. "Fine talk." Michael took a deep breath. "I was selfish. I was weak. I let my insecurities ruin everything, and I hurt you in ways I can never take back. I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed to tell you that I'm sorry." Ryan's silence on the other end of the line was deafening. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm but firm. "You're right. You don't deserve forgiveness, but I'll give you this. You're owning up to it. That's more than I expected." The conversation ended without resolution, but for Michael, it was a step forward, a small, tentative step toward redemption. The pivotal night arrived, bringing all four characters face to face in an unexpected and explosive encounter. It began with a charity gala, a glitzy event attended by the city's elite. Anna and Ryan were there as part of their efforts to rebuild their reputations and network with influential figures. Michael and Claire, for different reasons, also decided to attend. The tension was palpable from the moment they entered the room. Anna spotted Claire first, her eyes narrowing as their gazes met across the crowd. Michael, who had been nursing a drink at the bar, froze when he saw Ryan walk in. As the night wore on, the four of them found themselves drawn to each other like magnets, unable to avoid the inevitable confrontation. It happened on the balcony, where the cool night air did little to temper the heated emotions. "What are you even doing here?" Ryan snapped, his eyes locked on Michael. Michael raised his hands in a gesture of surrender. "I'm not here to cause trouble, I needed to see it for myself. How far you've come." Claire scoffed, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, please spare us the self-pity act." Anna stepped forward, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Enough, all of you. This isn't about us anymore. It's about what we're going to do to fix the mess we've made." For a moment, the group fell silent, the weight of Anna's words sinking in. But the fragile truce didn't last long. "You think you're the hero in all this?" Claire spat. "You're just as complicit as the rest of us." "And you think playing the victim will make people forget what you did?" Anna shot back, her voice rising. "We're all responsible for this, but at least I'm trying to make it right." The argument escalated, with accusations flying and emotions running high. It wasn't until Ryan stepped in, his voice calm but firm, that the group began to listen. "We can't change the past," he said, his gaze sweeping over each of them. "But we can decide what we do next. So what's it going to be?" Just when it seemed like the night couldn't get more intense, a bombshell revelation changed everything. Claire, in a desperate attempt to shift the blame, revealed a secret she had been keeping for months. "You think you're so righteous, Anna?" she said, her voice trembling with both anger and fear. "Well, guess what? Ryan isn't as innocent as he seems." Anna froze, her mind racing. "What are you talking about?" Claire smirked, sensing an opportunity to regain control. Ask him about the emails about the meetings he had behind your back." Ryan's face paled, and for a moment he couldn't speak. When he finally found his voice, his words were barely audible. "It wasn't what you think." Anna turned to him, her expression a mix of disbelief and betrayal. "Then tell me, what was it?" Ryan hesitated, the weight of his secret threatening to crush him. "I was trying to protect you," he admitted. "I found out about Michael and Claire months before you did. I didn't know how to tell you, so I started digging. But I didn't tell you because I was afraid of what it would do to you." Anna stared at him, her emotions a whirlwind of anger, hurt, and confusion. "You lied to me." "I didn't mean to," Ryan said, his voice desperate. "I was trying to help." The revelation shattered the fragile alliances they had formed, leaving each of them questioning their choices and their trust in one another. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on this unfolding drama. Who do you think handled the night the best, and who still has the most to answer for? Let me know in the comments. The fallout from the explosive confrontation at the gala set the stage for an even more gripping escalation. Each character found themselves grappling with their decisions, their alliances shifting like sand underfoot. What was once a tangled web of lies and secrets had become an open battlefield, with trust hanging by the thinnest of threads. Anna left the gala in a daze, the weight of Ryan's confession pressing heavily on her chest. The night air was cool, but it did little to calm the storm brewing within her. She had trusted Ryan implicitly, and while his actions had been out of a desire to protect her, the betrayal stung deeply. Sitting in her car, Anna scrolled through her phone, her finger hovering over Ryan's name. She wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, but she also knew it wasn't that simple. Ryan wasn't the villain in her story. None of them were, entirely. They were all flawed, trapped in a cycle of self-preservation and misplaced intentions. As she stared at her reflection in the rearview mirror, Anna whispered to herself, "What am I even fighting for anymore?" Her children. That was the answer. Jack and Ava didn't deserve to be caught in the crossfire of the adults' mistakes. With renewed determination, Anna resolved to shift her focus. She couldn't undo the past, but she could fight for her family's future. Ryan, on the other hand, was unraveling. After Anna stormed out of the gala, he remained on the balcony, staring out at the city lights. His mind replayed the night's events, each moment a dagger of regret. He knew he had handled everything poorly. His intentions might have been noble, but the execution had been a disaster. As he nursed a drink at the bar, Ryan decided he couldn't let things end like this. He needed to make things right with Anna, even if it meant exposing himself to further scrutiny. The next morning, he showed up at Anna's doorstep, his expression a mix of exhaustion and determination. "What do you want, Ryan?" Anna asked, her tone cold but weary. "I want to fix this," he said. "I know I messed up, and I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to hear me out." Anna crossed her arms, leaning against the doorframe. "You've got 5 minutes." Ryan took a deep breath. "I was scared of losing you, of what would happen to our family if the truth came out. I thought I could handle it on my own, but all I did was make things worse." Anna's eyes softened slightly, but her voice remained firm. "Do you even realize how much damage you've caused? You kept secrets, Ryan. You made decisions for me instead of with me." "I know," he admitted, "but I'm here now asking for a chance to make it right. Not for me, for us, for Jack and Ava." Anna hesitated, her resolve wavering. She wanted to believe him, but trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt overnight. Across town, Michael was also at a crossroads. His conversation with Ryan had left him shaken, but it had also planted a seed of hope. For the first time in months, Michael felt like redemption might be possible. But first, he had to face Claire. Michael found her at a coffee shop, sitting in the corner with her laptop. She looked up as he approached, her expression unreadable. "What are you doing here?" Claire asked, her voice clipped. "We need to talk," Michael said, sliding into the seat across from her. "About everything." Claire closed her laptop, folding her arms. "Fine talk." Michael hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "I've made a lot of mistakes, Claire, more than I can count, but we can't keep doing this, hurting each other, dragging everyone else down with us." Claire's eyes narrowed. "You think a heartfelt apology is going to fix this?" "No," Michael admitted. "But it's a start. I'm done hiding, Claire. If you want to keep playing games, that's on you, but I'm done." Claire stared at him for a long moment, her walls beginning to crack. She wanted to lash out, to blame him for everything, but deep down, she knew they were both at fault. The tension between the four reached a boiling point when Anna, Ryan, Michael, and Claire found themselves in the same room once again. This time, it was at Jack's school play, a neutral ground that quickly became anything but. Anna had arrived early, sitting in the front row with a proud smile. As Jack and Ava prepared backstage, Ryan entered next, taking a seat beside her. There was a brief, awkward silence before he said, "Thanks for letting me come." Anna didn't respond, her focus on the stage, but her silence spoke volumes. Michael and Claire arrived moments later, sitting a few rows back. The sight of the two couples in such close proximity was enough to make the air feel electric with tension. As the play began, it was clear that none of them were paying full attention. Their eyes kept darting toward one another, each trying to gauge the other's intentions. The real drama unfolded after the play in the school parking lot. As the children ran to their parents, the four adults exchanged tense greetings. "Nice play," Michael said awkwardly, trying to break the ice. Anna rolled her eyes. "Let's skip the small talk," Claire smirked. "Always so direct, Anna. It's one of your more charming traits." Ryan stepped between them, his voice firm. "Enough. This isn't the time or place." The argument that followed was intense, with old wounds reopened and new accusations hurled. But amidst the chaos, something remarkable happened. For the first time, they began to acknowledge their shared responsibility in the mess they had created. "We've all made mistakes," Anna said, her voice trembling with emotion. "But we have to find a way to move forward for the kids." The others nodded, their expressions a mix of guilt and determination. It wasn't a resolution, but it was a start. As the evening ended, the group parted ways, each lost in their own thoughts. But the story was far from over. Back at her apartment, Claire received a mysterious email. The subject line read, "I know everything." Her heart raced as she opened it, finding a series of incriminating photos and documents attached. The message was simple: time's up. Meanwhile, Michael sat in his apartment, staring at a letter from his lawyer. It contained the terms of a settlement that could either save or destroy him, depending on his next move. Anna and Ryan, though tentatively reunited, knew their battle was just beginning. The road to redemption was long, and the secrets they had yet to uncover threaten to derail them at every turn. As the screen fades to black, the tension is palpable. The story isn't over. It's only just beginning. The storm clouds gathered as the tangled web of lies and half-truths reached its breaking point. Every character had a choice to make, and those choices would define the climax of their shared story. Relationships were teetering on the brink, secrets were clawing their way to the surface, and the stakes had never been higher. Anna sat in her dimly lit kitchen, the contents of the mysterious folder sprawled across the table. Each document and photograph painted a damning picture of betrayal, manipulation, and greed. Her breath came in sharp, shallow bursts as the weight of the information threatened to overwhelm her. Who sent this, and why now? The questions swirled in her mind, but one thing was certain. She couldn't ignore it. She grabbed her phone and dialed Ryan's number. He answered on the third ring, his voice groggy but alert. "Anna, what's wrong?" "Get over here now," she demanded, her tone leaving no room for argument. When Ryan arrived, Anna wasted no time shoving the folder into his hands. "Explain this," she said, her voice laced with a mixture of anger and desperation. Ryan flipped through the documents, his expression shifting from confusion to shock. "I don't know where this came from," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But if this is real," Anna cut him off. "It's real, Ryan, and it's worse than we thought. Someone's been pulling the strings behind the scenes, and we've been pawns in their game." Ryan's jaw tightened as he set the folder down. "Then it's time we stopped playing." Across town, Michael paced the floor of his apartment, the letter from his lawyer crumpled in his fist. The terms of the settlement were harsh but manageable. If he could trust Claire to cooperate, that trust, however, was a fragile thing. Claire's mysterious email weighed heavily on her mind. She hadn't shared it with Michael, unsure if he was the intended recipient or simply collateral damage. But as she watched him pace, a thought struck her. What if they were stronger together? "Michael," she said, her voice softer than he expected. He stopped pacing and looked at her, his eyes narrowing. "What?" "We need to talk," Claire continued. "About everything. No more games, no more secrets." Michael raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "Why the sudden change of heart?" "Because I think we're being played," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "And if we don't figure out who's behind it, we're both going to lose." Michael's expression shifted from skepticism to cautious curiosity. "Keep talking." The four of them, Anna, Ryan, Michael, and Claire, met at a neutral location, an abandoned park on the outskirts of town. The tension was palpable as they stood in a loose circle, their expressions a mixture of suspicion and determination. "This feels like a trap," Michael muttered, his eyes darting around. "It's not," Anna said firmly. "But we don't have time for mistrust. Whoever sent that folder wants us to destroy each other. We need to figure out why." Ryan crossed his arms. "And how do we do that? By comparing notes, trading sob stories?" Claire stepped forward, holding up her phone. "I got an email anonymous sender, same tone as the folder Anna received. Someone knows everything, and they're not afraid to use it." The group exchanged uneasy glances. The implications were clear. They were being watched, manipulated, but by who and to what end? As they dug deeper, piecing together the fragments of their shared history, a clearer picture began to emerge. Financial records, old emails, and subtle connections pointed to a single name. Evelyn Drake, a shrewd and ruthless businesswoman with a personal vendetta against Michael. "She blames me for her company's downfall," Michael explained, his voice heavy with regret. "I exposed her fraudulent practices years ago. She lost everything." Anna's brow furrowed. "And now she's targeting all of us. Why?" "To punish me," Michael said, "and to ensure I can't recover." Claire scoffed. "Classic Evelyn. But why drag us into it?" Ryan interjected, his voice low. "Collateral damage. She knows Michael's weakest when he's distracted. And what better way to distract him than by tearing apart the people around him?" The realization hit them like a freight train. They weren't just victims of circumstance. They were pawns in a calculated game of revenge. Determined to take control of their narrative, the group devised a plan. They would confront Evelyn head-on, using the very tools she had employed against them. But it wouldn't be easy. Evelyn was a master manipulator, and one misstep could spell disaster. The first step was gathering evidence. Anna and Ryan focused on tracing Evelyn's recent activities, while Michael and Claire worked to secure allies who could corroborate their claims. It was a race against time, and the stakes had never been higher. The climactic moment came in Evelyn's opulent penthouse, a fortress of glass and steel overlooking the city. The group arrived unannounced, their determination outweighing their fear. Evelyn greeted them with a sly smile, her confidence unshaken. "Well, well, the gang's all here." Anna stepped forward, her voice steady. "We know what you've been doing, Evelyn, and we're not going to let you get away with it." Evelyn chuckled, sipping her wine. "And what, exactly, do you think you know?" Ryan held up a folder, mirroring the one Anna had received. "Enough to bury you." For the first time, Evelyn's smile faltered, but she quickly recovered, her tone icy. "You think you can outmaneuver me? You're out of your depth." Michael stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Maybe, but we're not alone. The authorities are already involved. This ends now." Evelyn's composure cracked as she realized the depth of their preparation. Her attempts to dismiss them, to sow discord among them, fell flat. For the first time in years, she was on the defensive. The confrontation with Evelyn marked a turning point for the group. With her schemes exposed, she was forced to back down, her once unassailable power crumbling under the weight of their unity. Anna and Ryan found a renewed sense of partnership, their shared experiences strengthening their bond. Michael and Claire, though still navigating the complexities of their relationship, discovered a newfound respect for each other. For the first time in a long time, the storm had passed. But as the group reflected on their journey, they knew the scars would remain. They had been tested, broken, and rebuilt. And while they couldn't undo the past, they had reclaimed their future. Before we move forward, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more captivating recaps and stories. What would you have done in their shoes? Let me know in the comments below. The city had returned to its usual hum, but for the four people who had endured a storm of betrayal and manipulation, nothing felt the same. The climactic showdown with Evelyn Drake had not only marked the end of her schemes, but also signaled a fresh start for Anna, Ryan, Michael, and Claire. However, closure wasn't instant, and the aftermath of their shared ordeal carried its own set of challenges. The evidence against Evelyn was airtight. The documents Anna and Ryan uncovered painted a damning picture of her manipulative schemes, and Michael's allies in the legal and corporate worlds were eager to see justice served. Evelyn, once a feared name in business circles, found herself at the center of multiple lawsuits and investigations. The press devoured the story, splashing her face across front pages alongside headlines that described her fall from grace. Her penthouse, once a symbol of untouchable power, now stood empty, stripped of its grandeur. For Anna, watching Evelyn's empire crumble was bittersweet. "She didn't just try to destroy us," she told Ryan. "She thrived on chaos and cruelty. This isn't just justice, it's liberation." The tension that had once defined Anna and Ryan's relationship seemed like a distant memory. The ordeal had forced them to confront their fears and insecurities, and they emerged stronger for it. Their bond, once fragile and strained, now felt unbreakable. One quiet evening, they stood on their balcony, the city lights stretching out before them. Ryan reached for Anna's hand, his touch warm and reassuring. "I thought we'd lost us," he admitted, his voice tinged with vulnerability. Anna turned to him, a soft smile playing on her lips. "We came close, but we found our way back." They shared a long, quiet moment, the weight of their journey settling into a sense of peace. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, it was something better, real, honest, and earned. For Michael and Claire, the road to reconciliation was less certain. The wounds they had inflicted on each other, intentionally or otherwise, were still raw, but the shared experience of exposing Evelyn had brought them closer, if only temporarily. In the days following the confrontation, they met for coffee at a small cafe near Claire's office. It was a tentative truce, a chance to speak without the weight of their past dragging them down. "I don't know if we can ever fix what's broken," Claire said, her gaze fixed on the swirling foam of her cappuccino. Michael nodded slowly. Maybe we don't need to fix it. Maybe we just need to learn from it. Claire looked up, meeting his eyes for the first time. Do you think that's enough? Michael offered a faint smile. I think it's a start. Several weeks later, the four of them gathered one last time. It wasn't in a dimly lit park or a high-stakes confrontation. It was at Anna and Ryan's apartment, a simple and warm space that felt worlds away from the chaos they had endured. As they shared drinks and laughter, the conversation drifted to the future. Anna talked about her plans to start a community organization, inspired by the resilience she had discovered within herself. Ryan mentioned taking a sabbatical to focus on his writing, a passion he had neglected for years. Michael, ever the pragmatist, revealed his intention to move abroad for a fresh start, leaving behind the memories and mistakes that had defined his life in the city. Claire, meanwhile, spoke of her decision to return to school, determined to carve out a path that was hers and hers alone. Funny, isn't it? Michael mused, raising his glass. We started this as strangers, enemies even, and now here we are. Anna smiled, her eyes glistening. We're not the same people we were, and that's a good thing. As the night wore on, the group drifted into a comfortable silence. Anna looked around the room, her heart swelling with gratitude. They had faced the worst of humanity: lies, betrayal, manipulation, and yet, here they were, not unscathed, but unbroken. She thought about Evelyn, now a ghost in their shared story. For all her power and cunning, she had underestimated one thing: the strength of people united by a common purpose. Evelyn's downfall wasn't just about justice. It was about reclaiming their lives from the grip of her control. Anna raised her glass, her voice steady and full of conviction. To us, to surviving, to growing, and to never letting anyone take our power again. The others raised their glasses, their smiles reflecting a shared sense of triumph. The clink of glass echoed in the room, a sound that marked not just an ending, but a beginning. The camera pans out to the city skyline, the lights twinkling like stars. In the distance, the faint hum of life carries on, a reminder that their story is just one of many. But for Anna, Ryan, Michael, and Claire, the night marks a turning point. They had faced their demons, found their strength, and emerged on the other side. The scars would remain, but so would the lessons. And as they stepped into the next chapter of their lives, they carried with them the knowledge that even in the darkest moments, there is a way forward. Thank you for following this incredible journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more captivating stories and recaps. What would you like to see next? Let me know in the comments.